Hey everyone, and welcome back to Data Driven Value, where we show you the tools and teach you the skills to help you take your financial freedom into your own hands. So today we're just going to do a really quick market update. We're going to take a look at a few altcoins. We're going to look more at the altcoin indexes, kind of our ETH Bitcoin, as well as our TOTAL3 others dominance. See if we can't figure out what might be a likely kind of bottom scenario for those. And then that's what we're going to want to see before we start acquiring altcoins for a hopeful kind of remainder of the cycle. That being said, I do want to touch on the Bitcoin chart. I've noticed some similarities to the last cycle. So I just want to bring these to your attention. Again, to be an informed investor, you need to be aware of both the bullish and bearish arguments against the market. Currently, what I'm going to look at is a bit of a bearish argument. So we'll flip over to the Bitcoin chart here, and then I'll just show you, obviously this is Bitcoin, so this is the current cycle here. This all through here is our bear market, and then we have our bull market up through here. Kind of looking at the last cycle, you see similar price action. You see this long extended bear market. We get this uptrend, a little mid-cycle dip, and then a second push to that higher high. Just what I want to show you here on this first indicator, this is the RSI, or the Lux Algo Ultimate RSI. So definitely an indicator we look at often. You can see here, this top right here actually coincided with this peak here, and then this lower high right here on the RSI actually kind of not quite coincided, but yeah, pretty much right here. You see we came back down, we had that bearish cross that I always talk about. So when we see the bearish cross on these indicators, it generally is signaling that we're likely due for a potential downtrend. That's what we saw here. So you see we came down, we lost our lows, we weren't able to kind of reverse that price structure through here. We just bled to kind of down to the bear market lows here. And you see on our kind of RSI, so it's kind of similar setup to what we're seeing over here. We've got our first peak, we've got our second peak, it's a lower high. Look at the timing too, guys. So this occurred in March, like the end of March here. Look at that, March 29th was this peak. And then look here, this peak of this current cycle, the first one, that's April 1st. So literally almost to the day, like very similar timing. And same thing, look at this, the peak here, essentially first week of December, last week of November, and look where our peak lined up this time. We're right in December, November as well. So we've got similar timing, we've got a similar setup on the RSI. Looking at our whale buy indicator, so this shows when the whales are really accumulating Bitcoin. You can see they only really do it during the bear market lows. They position themselves during these long consolidation periods, and then they ride the uptrends, in which case they start distributing. So again, that's kind of the accumulation distribution side of things. Generally, as prices consolidate here, you'll have a bunch of buyers step in, accumulate here, and they're looking to take profits on kind of a multiple X move, or this like bull market move here. So we see obviously kind of a similar setup. You see them only buying in these bear market lows. Look at this, quite overextended in the prior cycle. Same thing here, overextended in this cycle. So similar setup on our whale buy indicator as well. We don't have the whales accumulating at the current prices, so really be careful. You kind of want to follow the whales. We'll take a look at the lower time frame to get a better idea as well. That being said, everything when I talk about the high time frame or the weekly chart, this stuff can take months to years to play out, so really take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm just seeing kind of these similarities to the prior cycle, and it's just a little worrying. So coming down again, another momentum indicator I've talked about. This is our DMI, or our directional movement index. So looking here, you see when we had our parabolic move here, this red ADX line is curling up, and then you see when it gets to that first peak and curls over, that was our first peak here. So you see that also coinciding right here, and then you see it came back down here. It has bounced. So ideally, what you want to see on a directional movement index for a bullish setup, you want to see the blue line above the orange line curling up, and you want to see the red ADX line also supporting underneath that blue DMI positive line. So this blue line here, you want that curling up as well. So when you look right here, we're actually, the ADX looks like it's curling back over. So it looks like that lower high. You see the DMI plus curling back down, and the negative line. So they're kind of converging towards each other here. What we don't want to see is these cross, because that's what happened back here. You see as soon as the ADX, or sorry, not the ADX, the DMI minus line, as soon as it got above the DMI plus and held it there, that is what signaled our extended downtrend. So you see right through here, that bearish cross pretty much got above it, held it, and then you see both the DMI minus and the ADX line pushing that DMI positive line down, creating more resistance, and you see we just went into that long downtrend. So really be careful. Obviously that was a major drop. Even let's say if we went from the peak to the bear market low, you're looking at like I think it's about a 70% drop here. So yeah, looking at this, you know, 70-80% drop. So pretty crazy if you kind of bought up here and had to ride it down into here. That's what I'm trying to stop you from doing and what we're trying to avoid. That's why we wait for confirmation of trend before we take positions, because this is a little worrying in my opinion. We have to be aware of this. I've mentioned the left translated cycle before, so that in theory a traditional cycle generally tops kind of later in the fall, in kind of the following year after the halving. So theoretically in a traditional cycle we're looking at a top kind of, you know, Q3, Q4 2025, maybe into 2026, but in a left translated cycle, the top comes a lot sooner. So we see it here. If this is our top, then we've topped in Q1 of 2025 essentially, and you know, we might be due for that large retracement. You know, it's entirely possible to think we could go back into that bear market. You know, whether we see a full 80% retracement again, it's hard to tell, but obviously, you know, I would expect kind of at least a 50 to 70% retracement in a full-on bear market. It's kind of really going to depend. We're not too sure the effect with all the new ETFs, with all those new buyers. You know, we're not sure what they're going to do in an actual bear market or in a downtrend. Are they going to sell? You know, they started buying here and they've only really experienced up and to the right. So they've never really been through this extended downturn here. It will be interesting to see kind of how they react. And then also just looking at our MACD, so also coinciding with the top here, bearish cross, bearish cross, bearish cross, and heading to that bearish cross. So again, just a lot of little things to watch on the high time frame. You know, this is kind of concerning. You know, again though, it could play out over a long period of time because it is on the weekly chart. Flip over to our Bitcoin logarithmic regression rainbow here. So you can just see generally this calls kind of the cycle peaks here. It does trend up with time because Bitcoin as an asset theoretically does trend up with time. You can kind of see every cycle how it's coincided with one of these bands here. So what I want to show you is how every subsequent cycle we essentially drop down 2 bands, and that's where the peak lies. So kind of throughout here, obviously the first 3 cycles, you know, each peak coming 2 deviations below in terms of bands. So if we're looking at our current cycle price action, you know, we're only looking at topping out at the 4th band here. So kind of again, as time goes on, so depending how the cycle plays out, you know, if we just consolidate and build support for a while, kind of range in the 90, 100,000 range for a little bit, really build out that support, then I kind of, you know, I would support more of a traditional cycle theory. But kind of the way things are looking right now, if we either break down or we break up really sharply to about 125 to 140,000 or 150,000, that's kind of my target for a left translated cycle peak. If we do get that extra push up, I can't promise that we will. That being said, I've taken profits out of a lot of my high risk and high leverage positions, and then I've got a healthy amount of cash, so my cash position is replenished, and I'm still holding my core cycle conviction plays. Those are my long-term positions. So again, I'm just going to look to add to those positions on dips where it kind of makes sense, and again, just de-risking and de-leveraging where I can, booking profits in high-risk stuff. You know, I'm not trying to like bet the house around here, especially with all those factors I just kind of showed you. I'm not over-risking myself, and I'm not taking all my money off the table because I do want to maintain exposure to the market. There is that potential for continued upside, and I want to capitalize on that if I can. So, but again, if we just look here at the current price, if we were to hit that 4th band and coincide with a peak, you know, we're looking at about $140,000 Bitcoin today, kind of depending how long it takes for us to base and go out. You know, that could raise up a little bit, but that's kind of why I have a general left translated cycle peak, even a cycle peak potentially of about $125 to $150,000 US. It's also confluence with a cup and handle measured move. I'll show you that over here. So if we flip back to Bitcoin, I'll just flip to this chart and get rid of the drawings for you to clean it up. So essentially what we have here, I'm going to show you a cup and handle move. So if we take our drawing tool, we see this is the big cup right here. This is our handle. So we see we had our consolidation here. So big cup, handle, breakout, back test, and we're off and running. So what I'm going to show you though is how to take a measured move of this. So if we take the measured move from the low of the cup here and we drag it up to the peak of the right of the cup, then you see there that number 57,684. So when we take a measured move, we're going to take this and drag it over here on the breakout of the handle, and I'll show you kind of right here. If we take that, 57,684 from the breakout, we're looking at what's great about there. So look at that, like 124,000 is kind of the target, 120. So yeah, anything over 120 I think is valid as a potential cycle peak. It has reached that, at that point it would have reached the measured move for the cup and handle as well, kind of that logarithmic regression confluence there. So just watching that as a potential. I can't promise what's going to happen. I don't have a crystal ball, as I always say, but we'll zoom into the low time frame, get an idea of what we're kind of how we're looking. So, we're holding support through here for now. We'll see kind of what happens there. But again, this is a bear flag, not looking good, breaking below these lows on the even lower time frame. So if we pull up our momentum indicators, we're quite oversold here, but our DMI is looking bearish. We don't have as much buyers stepping in here as I would like. RSI curling back down. So again, short-term bearish move in my opinion. I think we're looking at something, maybe we're going to break down below here. We're going to come back to this support, retest this, and then we might get rejected again, have to come back and sweep these lows, maybe these lows down here, try to put in that higher macro low. But again, not looking too promising from the low time frame. It looks like the potential to just break down. You can kind of see if we flip to the slightly higher time frame, you can see that price action. So you see again, we talk about the uptrend. So here, we tried to break that trend. We got that higher macro high. We couldn't break the high here. So lower high, lower low, lower high, confirmed downtrend. And then currently the potential to put in a low or higher low. But that being said, we're just stuck in this range, not actionable in my opinion. We really want price action to kind of support our trend. So, for now, Bitcoin just ranging in this range for now, not inherently overly bearish or bullish, just the ranging environment. If we come down here, I might look to kind of supplement some of my position with a little swing position here. That being said, again, we do recognize the overextension of Bitcoin on a Fibonacci basis here. So expect it for the potential to come back and meet some of these lower Fibonacci levels. That would also coincide with a traditional mid-market dip of about 30%. So yes, not uncommon in prior cycles. We've seen 40-50% mid-cycle corrections. So I'm just watching this again, not looking super promising on the high time frame as I showed you, and kind of just neutral in no man's land on the low time frame. So again, just watching the chart and kind of gauging it from there. Looking at Bitcoin dominance. So yeah, everybody was calling for the top on Bitcoin dominance right here. That was it. This is alt season now. And then obviously we just pay attention to price action. So what you see here, beautiful bull flag, breakout, retest. We're holding those lows. We can continue higher here. Look at that. So, still that higher low, higher high structure for now, assuming that 61.5% holds as support. The next resistance is up at these levels. This was just a massive wick here, so I wouldn't be surprised to see us go up and at least maybe wick up to these levels here, kind of stop out more traders. So my target 63% up to about 63.5% for Bitcoin dominance. Looking really strong, oversold across the board. Nice setup there. So expecting another little push from Bitcoin dominance. Flipping over to ETHUSD. Look, again, we tried to reverse that structure, but again, we flipped back, lost the lows, low time frame downtrend, have this area of interest marked here. So kind of between 2,300 and about 2,500 is what you might look for a potential swing position on Ethereum. If we take a look at our indicators though, it's not looking great. We are quite oversold, but our DMI is not looking very supportive in terms of an actual move up. And again, we're just stuck under resistance. Maybe we just need to consolidate a little bit more. Flip over to ETH Bitcoin here. So I kind of showed this. Essentially, if you just look, I shared this into the Cryptoverse Premium. Just see the little bear flag structure. So they're all very dubious kind of bear flags, but just look how they break down from these bear flags. And look at that. It says 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 very similar price action structures, all kind of within each other. If you follow me and you follow the price pattern structures, then you would have recognized that bear flag. You would have been out up here where it made more sense. And then again, this is just a downtrend that we talk about. We want to see that bottom confirmation before we start to really get aggressive into Ethereum. We want to be sure that Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin in the long run. So if the market were to break down from here, Ethereum's definitely not going to outperform Bitcoin. That's at least my most educated guess. That being said, if we do have that continued traditional cycle play out, Ethereum and altcoins should have that mania phase or that alt season where they'll see some relief and outperformance. But again, we want to be sure that we're bottoming on the high time frame. So if we flip over to our weekly again, so weekly, nothing. It's just a new low for now. Look at this long bleed. So that's why we don't want to get caught in this. We just want to wait for that confirmation. If we flip to the daily again, so the daily is going to give us a good example, but for now just stuck under resistance, lower low, no signs of bottoming yet. Flipping over to TOTAL3, looking a little bit better here. Came back to our 0.5 Fibonacci, holding this support through here, so pretty good. Looking to bounce, but again, watch for that bottom confirmation. Again, we want to see those higher highs, higher lows for us to reverse that trend. You're going to want to pay more attention to dominance here as well. So we did get the higher low on others dominance. Again, we've broken down from this wedge. If we take a look at our momentum indicators, we did have a good buy come in here on the daily for others dominance. We are quite oversold. We did see the ADX get above this DMI minus line. So now what we want to see is the DMI minus, the orange line, come back down, and we want to see that blue DMI line start curling up as then kind of to get a bit of a relief move in others dominance. I'm only going to look at a couple altcoins again because others dominance is looking kind of weak, because Bitcoin and Ethereum aren't necessarily looking very strong. There's not a ton of opportunities in the altcoin market. It doesn't necessarily make sense to take on that additional risk kind of on the current price action. That being said, if you're just looking to DCA on a long-term basis, there are some, there's some opportunities out there, but again, that's kind of going to be within your own strategy, and DCA is typically not kind of as based on technical analysis as my usual accumulation strategy. So if we look at Solana, obviously we see here kind of oversold. Again, we see that ADX line crossing the DMI minus line. We want to see the blue crossing up. RSI quite oversold, so it looks pretty good from our momentum indicators. We are stuck in this downtrend here, so we want to see that breakout, that back test for us to kind of continue on this move, but holding those lows pretty well, holding support, looks pretty good from a swing perspective. If you're bullish on Solana, you just want to DCA on something, Solana is not the worst choice of altcoins. And we'll flip over to the Bitcoin chart, but again, recognize the potential to come down to these lower zones. That's where I'm looking at more of accumulating a position if I see fit, kind of again gauging market structure as we get down there. But on the Bitcoin pair, again, ranging here, holding those lows. So Solana looking stronger than a lot of other coins. I'll take a look at XRP. It was another request in my Telegram group here. So we did see this big breakout retest, holding this right now. We'll flip to our momentum indicators. Oversold. We want to see that coming down, crossing. Again, XRP, as long as it holds this trend line, it can continue up. But that being said, we're in that low time frame kind of downtrend. So we want to see that bottom structure, higher low, and then potentially that next move up. Again, I'm not going to look at too many alts here. Kind of get into them a bit more. Again, we want to make sure that ETH, Bitcoin, others, and TOTAL3 are kind of looking a little bit stronger. Yeah, there is that risk in the market, as I mentioned. There are some things to worry about in terms of Bitcoin. That being said, there's a lot of things to be bullish about in terms of the current administration and how crypto-friendly they are. So just really kind of come up with a good idea. Try to hedge your bets if you can. Don't over-risk yourself. Don't be afraid to take profits in some of your higher risk positions, but again, figure out what makes the most sense to maintain exposure to the market while also trying to mitigate your risk. And then we'll just kind of, we'll follow the charts as they come, take it day by day. It's not going to be a massive V-shaped recovery where you've missed every opportunity to make money in this market. And again, we're going to preserve our capital first and grow it second. You can't grow what you don't have. So if you liked the content, if you learned something new, please like, share, subscribe. It all means the world to me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, bye.